My parents dragged me to court and demanded I give my house to my sister because she deserved it more. So I fought back, proved they'd been funding her lazy lifestyle for years, and watched their entire scheme collapse. My parents took me to court for buying a house, not a joke. I spent 8 years grinding in commercial real estate, saving every penny, skipping vacations, and living cheap. Then finally bought my first home. Their response: "That house should have gone to your sister." I laughed until I realized they weren't kidding. So I took my revenge and made sure they'd never forget who earned it. Buckle up, Reddit. This is going to be a long one, but I promise it's worth every word. Throwaway account for obvious reasons. Though honestly, after everything that happened, I don't really care who knows this story anymore. I 31 male work in commercial real estate investment and just closed on an $850,000 house in one of the most sought-after neighborhoods in the city. 4 bedrooms, 3-car garage backyard, big enough to host the Super Bowl. The kind of place I dreamed about growing up in our cramped split level where I shared a bedroom with my entitled sister until I was 16. Let me paint you the family picture because context matters here. My dad works middle management at an insurance company. Decent money, but nothing spectacular, pulling in maybe $75,000 annually. My mom's a part-time dental hygienist working 3 days a week, bringing home another $35,000. They're solidly middle-class, comfortable, but not wealthy by any stretch. But they made a decision early on that my sister Victoria, 33 now, was their precious princess, who deserved the world, and I was just the spare kid who could figure things out on his own. Classic golden child versus scapegoat dynamic that you read about in psychology books. Victoria got dance lessons, piano lessons, art classes, summer camps, private tutoring when her grades tanked. I got told to go play outside and figure it out yourself. When I was 17 and wanted to take the SATs, I had to pay the $60 fee myself from my job at the local auto shop. Meanwhile, Victoria got a brand new BMW for her 18th birthday because she needed reliable transportation for college. But here's the thing. Instead of getting bitter and resentful like some people might, I used it as pure motivation. Started working construction during high school summers when I was 16, doing grunt work for $12 an hour in scorching heat, saved every single penny, and put myself through state school studying finance. Worked 30-plus hours a week at various jobs, campus bookstore, restaurant server, weekend construction gigs, while maintaining a 3.8 GPA that I'm still proud of today. Got my real estate license junior year and started flipping contracts on weekends, making small commissions that added up over time. After graduation, I grounded out for 8 years in commercial real estate, started as the coffee copy running guy, and worked my way up to closing million deals. Last year, I made $180,000 base plus bonuses. This year, I'm tracking toward $220,000. Victoria. She got a communications degree. My parents paid $160,000 for, yes, you read that right, $160,000. Spent 2 years finding herself in California living in expensive apartments they funded. Came back with 0 job prospects and decided she was going to be a lifestyle influencer. For the past 5 years, she's been making maybe $800 monthly from her Instagram, where she posts artsy coffee photos and steals motivational quotes from Pinterest. Her content is exactly what you'd expect: generic inspiration posts, mirror selfies, and the occasional sponsored post for sketchy diet supplements that probably pays her in free product rather than actual money. She lives in my parents' basement and still drives that 15-year-old BMW they bought her. So last month, I finally pulled the trigger on something I'd been planning and saving for over 3 years. Buying a house in Riverside Heights, the exclusive area where all the doctors, lawyers, and successful business owners live. You know the neighborhood. Tree-lined streets, manicured lawns, houses that actually have character instead of looking like cookie-cutter suburban boxes. $850,000 purchase price, which in today's market for that area was actually reasonable. I put down $170,000 cash, exactly 20% to avoid PMY, and got a mortgage for the rest at 2.8% because my credit score is 798 and my debt-to-income ratio qualified me easily with room to spare. The day I got the keys, I took a photo holding them up in front of the house and posted it on Facebook. Dreams do come true when you work for them. Got 200-plus likes and tons of congratulations from college friends, work colleagues, former classmates, even some of my old construction buddies. People were genuinely excited for me because they knew how hard I'd worked to get here. The comments were full of support. So proud of you, component placement. Can't wait to see the housewarming party. My parents didn't like or comment. Should have been my first red flag. 3 days later, my phone rings. Dad's voice. "We need to have a family meeting about this house situation. What house situation? I asked, genuinely confused. You know what I'm talking about. Your mother and I have been discussing it, and we think you need to reconsider some things. I'm thinking maybe they want to see it or plan a housewarming party. Oh, how naive I was. I drive over that evening and walk into what felt like an intervention you'd see in a bad TV drama. Parents sitting side by side on the couch like a united front Victoria positioned in the chair across from them looking smug and entitled. And there's an empty chair facing all of them like I'm about to get court-martialed by my own family. The whole setup was clearly planned. They'd obviously discussed this ahead of time and decided on their strategy. The lighting was dim, the atmosphere was tense, and I could immediately tell this wasn't going to be the congratulatory conversation I'd naively expected. Dad starts son. We've been talking as a family, and we think the right thing to do would be for Victoria to have the house. I actually laughed. What are you talking about? Mom jumps in. This is exactly the attitude we're talking about. Victoria is struggling. She can't afford to move out, and you're doing very well for yourself. You could easily buy another house. Then Victoria speaks, and this part still makes my blood pressure spike every time I think about it. I've always dreamed of having a house like that, and honestly, I think I deserve it more than you do. I've been through so much emotional trauma trying to build my brand and establish myself as an influencer, and you've had everything handed to you with your corporate job and steady income. You don't understand the struggles of being a creative entrepreneur in today's economy. It's not fair that you get to live in luxury while I'm stuck in the basement trying to make ends meet. I stared at her in complete disbelief. This woman who's never worked a real day in her life, whose biggest stress is choosing between Instagram filters and deciding which inspirational quote to steal from Pinterest, whose most challenging daily decision is whether to order DoorDash or have mom make her a sandwich, just told me I've had everything handed to me. The audacity was breathtaking. Here I was, someone who'd worked construction in 100-degree reheat, pulled all-nighters studying, while working multiple jobs, lived on ramen noodles for years to save money, and she thought I was the privileged one. You're all insane, I said, and walked out. Dad yelled after me. This conversation isn't over. Family takes care of family. I thought that was the end of it. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. 2 weeks after that bizarre family meeting, I'm returning from the gym and there's a process server waiting by my front door. Professional-looking woman in a suit hands me an envelope like she's delivering the Hope Diamond. I open it right there on my doorstep and I swear I thought I was hallucinating. My own parents were suing me for my house. The house I bought with my own money. The lawsuit was 47 pages of pure fantasy. Claim 1. I owed them $420,000 in child-rearing expenses and educational investment. Claim 2. Victoria was financially disadvantaged due to the economic climate affecting social media entrepreneurs. I had to read that twice. Claim 3. As their son, I had a moral and legal obligation to ensure family financial stability. Claim 4. The house purchase was made using foundational skills and values they provided, making them entitled to the asset. The relief sought transfer of the house to Victoria, with me continuing to pay the mortgage for 36 months plus $15,000 in emotional damages for the stress I caused by being selfish. I called my lawyer friend and read him the whole thing. Dead silence for 30 seconds then. Bro, this is the most insane thing I've ever heard. But you need to take this seriously because crazy people can still win if you don't fight back properly. I probably should have hired him, but I was so angry. I wanted to handle this myself. I've always been good at research and documentation, and honestly, I wanted the satisfaction of beating them using my own skills. The family drama started immediately. Victoria went full victim mode on social media, posted a long Instagram story about toxic family members who put money over love and how she was fighting for what's morally right. She had about 3,000 followers at the time, mostly bots and middle-aged women who followed her for coffee photos. But here's where it gets entertaining. She started a TikTok series called My Brother Stole My Future, where she'd cry on camera talking about how she'd already picked out furniture for her house and how I was destroying the family. Some videos got decent views because people love train wrecks. My parents went nuclear on Facebook. Mom wrote this essay about sacrificing her career to raise me and how I was abandoning the family in their time of need. Dad shared articles about successful children who forgot their roots. The cherry on top. Victoria created a GoFundMe called Help Me Fight for My Family Home. She claimed I had manipulated the legal system and needed $30,000 for legal fees to get her house back. She raised $847 in 2 weeks, mostly from relatives. My Aunt Dad's sister became their chief flying monkey. She commented on every social media post about how ungrateful I was and how Victoria deserved stability. She even called my office trying to get me fired, telling my boss I was mentally unstable and had abandoned my family responsibilities. Thankfully, my boss thought it was hilarious and just gave me a heads up. The harassment escalated quickly. They started driving by my house at odd hours. Victoria would post Instagram stories from her car outside my neighborhood with captions like, "Just thinking about what could have been." And some people get everything handed to them. I installed a Ring doorbell and security cameras. Within a week, I caught Victoria trying to peek in my windows at 11 p.m., my aunt taking pictures of my house from the street, and my parents sitting in their car in my driveway for 20 minutes just watching. During discovery, I had to provide financial documents proving I bought the house myself. Meanwhile, I requested their financial records to show they had no claim to the property. That's when I discovered something fascinating. My parents had been lying about their financial situation. They weren't struggling. They had over $200,000 in savings and investments. But they'd been telling everyone, including Victoria, that they were broke. Victoria's records were even better. This woman, who claimed she was financially disadvantaged, had been receiving $2,500 monthly from my parents for 3 years. Plus, they were paying her car insurance, phone bill, health insurance, and letting her live rent-free. She was making $800 monthly from Instagram and getting $2,500 monthly from my parents. But somehow, I was the villain for not giving her my house. The discovery phase took 4 months. The family harassment continued. Victoria making TikToks outside my house, my parents showing up at places they knew I'd be, always watching, never speaking. But I was documenting everything. Photos, videos, screenshots, bank records, building a case not just to keep my house, but to expose what manipulative people they really were. Court got scheduled for February, 3 months to prepare for war. The 3 months before court were like watching a slow-motion car crash, where the car was my family's reputation, and I had the best seat in the house. Victoria's TikTok series. My brother stole my future started getting attention, but not the supportive kind she expected. Comments were asking basic questions like, "Why don't you get a job?" And "How is it his fault you don't own a house?" Instead of answering logically, she made response videos crying about not everyone understanding the struggles of building a personal brand and how some people are born with privilege. The comments got even more brutal. "My favorite girl, your brother worked construction and you lived in your parents' basement." What privilege? Victoria doubled down. She started making videos about financial abuse and family members who gaslight you into thinking you don't deserve success. She even made one where she drove to my neighborhood and filmed herself crying in the car about how she should be living here instead of in a basement. The video got 50,000 views, but for all the wrong reasons. People started response videos roasting her. Someone found her LinkedIn showing she'd been unemployed for 5 years. Another person found old Instagram posts where she bragged about designer bags and vacations my parents bought her. The internet was doing my research for me. Meanwhile, my parents hired a second lawyer after the first one told them the case was unwinnable and they should drop it. The new guy was more expensive but willing to take their money. Other family members started getting dragged in. My uncle called trying to play mediator. "Can't you just give her the down payment money instead? You can afford another house and it would keep the peace." I told him exactly what I told everyone else. "I'm not giving anyone anything. I earned this house. If Victoria wants a house, she can get a job and buy one." My grandmother called crying, saying the family was falling apart. That one hurt because I actually respect her, but I held firm. Christmas was particularly entertaining. I got uninvited, obviously. But I found out later that Victoria spent the entire dinner talking about her house and showing people photos she'd taken from the street. She was making redecoration plans and discussing where she'd put her art studio. My cousin was there and told me she literally said, "Once I get the house, I'm throwing a huge housewarming party to celebrate justice being served." This woman was already living there in her head. While they were busy playing victim on social media, I was doing actual work. I hired a forensic accountant to analyze their financial records from discovery. What we found was beautiful. My parents had been lying to Victoria about being broke while sitting on $200,000 plus in assets. They had been paying her $2,500 monthly for 3 years, $90,000 total. They'd bought her car, paid for vacations, medical bills, everything. Victoria had never filed taxes on the money they gave her. They'd taken out a $50,000 home equity loan to fund the lawsuit. The best part, Victoria had been claiming she was an independent entrepreneur on social media, while taking $30,000 yearly from mommy and daddy. I also discovered my aunt had been pushing for the lawsuit from the beginning. She'd never liked me and was helping pay their legal fees. 3 weeks before court, Victoria made her biggest mistake. She posted a TikTok shopping for furniture for my new house, expensive store picking out couches and dining sets, talking about manifesting the life I deserve. Someone screen recorded it and sent it to me. The comments were brutal. This is embarrassing. Imagine being 33 and acting like this. Your brother dodged a bullet. Victoria actually responded to hate comments, making it worse. 2 weeks before court, they made their final push. Parents, Victoria, and my aunt showed up at my house Sunday morning while I was working in the garage. Didn't knock, just walked up like they owned the place. Dad started, "Son, we can still resolve this without court. Just do the right thing." Victoria was walking around my property like she was already the owner, taking pictures and discussing where she'd plant flowers. I told them to get off my property or I'd call police. My aunt started yelling about how ungrateful I was. Victoria started crying about me destroying her dreams, and Mom kept repeating, "Family should help family." I went inside, locked the door, and called 911. By the time police arrived, they were gone, but I filed a report anyway. That night, Victoria posted an Instagram story about how I called police on my own family and how some people will do anything to avoid doing what's right. The comments were not supportive. Court was Monday morning. I spent Sunday organizing evidence. Financial records, social media screenshots, trespassing photos, the forensic accountant's report, everything. I was ready to destroy them. Court day felt like Christmas morning. I arrived early, dressed in my best suit, carrying 2 briefcases full of evidence. I felt like a prosecutor going after a crime family, except I was fighting for something already mine. My parents showed up with Victoria, my aunt, and about 6 other relatives for moral support. They were dressed like they were attending a funeral, all coordinated in black and navy blue. Victoria was carrying a folder with Pinterest printouts of interior designs. She literally brought decoration ideas to court like she was already planning to move in. Their new lawyer looked nervous, first time seeing all my evidence, and I could tell he was realizing what a disaster he'd gotten into. The judge was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who looked like she'd seen every type of family drama imaginable. She started by asking both sides to state their case briefly. Their lawyer went first. "Your Honor, my clients are loving parents who invested heavily in their son's development and now seek equitable distribution of the benefits of that investment. The defendant's sister is in financial distress and needs stable housing while the defendant has means to easily acquire another property." "My turn, Your Honor. I am the sole owner of the property in question. I purchased it entirely with funds I earned and saved through my own employment. No other party contributed to this purchase in any way. This lawsuit is an attempt to steal my legally acquired property based on the false premise that adult children owe their parents ownership of their assets." The judge nodded. "Let's see the evidence." They went first, and it was beautiful watching them hang themselves. Evidence. Item 1, baby photos of me as proof of their investment. Judge, how do baby photos relate to property ownership? They're a lawyer. They show the emotional and financial investment my clients made. Judge, are you claiming parenting expenses create ownership rights in adult children's property? Awkward silence. Evidence item 2. Victoria's student loan statements, $180,000 total. Judge, who is responsible for these loans? Victoria, I am, but I can't afford payments because of the economic situation affecting influencers. Judge, what is your current employment status? Victoria, I'm an entrepreneur, building my personal brand on social media. Judge, what income does that generate? Victoria, it's not about income right now. It's about building audience engagement. Judge, so you're unemployed, Victoria. I'm self-employed. Evidence item 3. Victoria's business plan for turning my house into a creative space and content studio. Judge, did the defendant agree to this business plan? Their lawyer, no, Your Honor. But it shows how the property could be better utilized. Judge, by someone who doesn't own it. Then my turn. Evidence. Item 1. Complete financial records showing I purchased the house entirely with my own money. Judge, this clearly shows sole ownership. Any dispute about these facts? Their lawyer, no, Your Honor, but Judge. But what evidence? Item 2. The forensic accountant's report showing my parents had $200,000 plus in assets while claiming to be broke. Judge. So the plaintiffs misrepresented their financial situation. Me? Yes, Your Honor. They told everyone they couldn't help Victoria while secretly giving her $2,500 monthly. Evidence item 3. Bank records showing Victoria received $90,000 from my parents over 3 years. Judge to Victoria. Were you aware you were receiving $30,000 yearly from your parents, Victoria? That wasn't income. That was family support. Judge, did you report this support on tax returns? Victoria, I don't think I had to. Judge, you received $90,000 in unreported income while claiming financial hardship. Evidence item 4 screenshots of Victoria's TikTok videos, including the furniture shopping one. The judge actually watched Victoria shopping for furniture for her new house. Judge, did you create this video, Victoria? Yes, but I was just visualizing my future. Judge, you were shopping for furniture for a house you don't own while in litigation. Victoria, I was manifesting success. Evidence, item 5 photos and police reports of them trespassing. Judge, did you enter the defendant's property without permission? Dad, we're his parents. We were trying to resolve this as family. Judge, on property you're currently suing to obtain. The judge recessed for 15 minutes, returned, and delivered the most satisfying 10 minutes of my life. This case is not only without merit, it borders on harassment. The defendant purchased property with his own funds. The plaintiffs have no legal claim whatsoever. Furthermore, the plaintiff, Victoria, has demonstrated a concerning pattern of entitlement and financial irresponsibility while receiving substantial undisclosed support from her parents. The defendant has shown remarkable restraint facing what appears to be a coordinated campaign of harassment. Case dismissed. She even awarded me attorney's fees and costs despite me representing myself. Victoria started sobbing in the courtroom. My aunt started yelling about judicial bias. My parents just sat there like someone had died. But the real show started outside. The courthouse step scene was better than reality TV. Victoria was having a complete breakdown, ugly crying and screaming about how the judge didn't understand and how I had manipulated everyone. My aunt was going full tantrum mode, yelling at random people about corrupt legal systems and how family means nothing anymore. Security had to tell her to calm down or leave. My parents looked shell-shocked. I think they genuinely believed they'd win. The best part was people walking by recognizing Victoria from her TikToks. College girls stopped and one said, "Oh my gosh, is that the girl who thinks her brother should give her his house?" They started recording her meltdown. Victoria noticed and screamed at them to stop filming, which made them film more obviously. I just walked to my car and left. Victory felt good, but I knew this wasn't over. Within 24 hours, Victoria posted a 10-minute TikTok rant about corrupt judges and rigged courts. She claimed I had bribed or manipulated the judge and was going to appeal. Comments were brutal. Take the L and get a job. This is embarrassing. Your brother doesn't owe you anything. Victoria doubled down, making more videos about fighting injustice and exposing corruption in family court. My parents started their own social media campaign. Mom posted on Facebook about how I had chosen money over family. Dad shared articles about ungrateful children and declining family values. Their friends weren't having it. People who'd known me since childhood started commenting with support. I remember when he worked 2 jobs for college while Victoria got everything handed to her. This boy has always been responsible and hardworking. Maybe if you'd treated your children equally, this wouldn't have happened. My aunt tried organizing a family boycott of me. She called relatives, trying to get them to cut contact until he does the right thing. It backfired spectacularly. My cousin told her exactly what everyone was thinking. You're an idiot. He bought a house with his own money. Nobody owes Victoria anything just because she's too lazy to work. My grandmother called my parents and told them they should be ashamed. She said she was proud of me for standing up to bullies, even family ones. But harassment didn't stop. Victoria started driving by daily, always recording. She'd park across the street making TikToks about how she should be living here. My parents began showing up at my work again, sitting in the parking lot hoping to run into me. When that failed, they started calling the office about family emergencies. My boss finally blocked their numbers. The final straw came 3 weeks after court. I came home to find Victoria in my backyard, taking measurements and making sketches. She'd climbed over my fence and was planting garden beds and patios. When she saw me, she didn't run. She said, "I'm just planning for when this gets sorted out properly." The legal system failed, but justice will prevail eventually. I called police. She got arrested for trespassing. That night, she posted a TikTok from the police station crying about how I had called cops on family and was using the system to abuse her. Comments were not sympathetic. Something interesting started happening around this time. The constant stress was destroying my parents' marriage. My cousin told me they were fighting, constantly blaming each other. Dad thought they should drop it and reconcile. Mom was convinced they should keep fighting because Victoria deserves justice. Victoria was pushing them to appeal and sue me for harassment. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything. Photos of Victoria trespassing, screenshots of social media posts, records of workplace harassment, everything. I was building a case, but not for what they expected. I realized these people would never stop. They'd never accept being wrong. They'd keep harassing me until someone made them face real consequences. So I decided to give them exactly what they were asking for: justice, just not the kind they expected. While my family was busy destroying their reputation and escalating harassment, I was quietly working on something that would end this permanently. Working in commercial real estate, you learn about people's financial situations. You also make connections with lawyers, accountants, and other professionals who specialize in solving problems. After Victoria's trespassing arrest, I had a conversation with my lawyer friend, not about suing my family. I didn't want their money. I wanted something better, accountability. What if I suspected someone was committing tax fraud, identity theft, and running fraudulent fundraising campaigns, I asked? He smiled. I'd say that sounds like something the IRS and FBI might find interesting. Here's what I discovered during my investigation. Victoria's tax situation. She'd been receiving $2,500 monthly from my parents for 3 years, $90,000 total, and never reported it as income. She also claimed to be a business owner on applications while having no legitimate business income. GoFundMe fraud. Victoria's fundraising campaign claimed I had stolen a family home and she needed money for legal fees. She raised money under false pretenses and used most for personal expenses, not legal costs, identity issues. Victoria had been using my parents' address for credit applications while claiming different addresses elsewhere. She'd also used my information trying to get on mortgage pre-approval for our house, my parents' financial lies. They'd been claiming financial hardship while sitting on $200,000 plus in assets. They'd also taken out the home equity loan under questionable circumstances. But the real treasure was Victoria's social media obsession. She documented everything. I went through months of her Instagram stories, TikToks, Facebook posts, and Snapchats. This woman had created a digital paper trail of her entire scam. Videos of her spending GoFundMe money on clothes and restaurants, posts about receiving family support while claiming independence, screenshots of her planning to flip my house for profit once she got it, messages with friends about how she was going to take my brother for everything. The cherry on top, she'd posted a TikTok showing herself filling out credit applications using my parents' information and income to qualify for bigger loans. I compiled everything into a comprehensive report. Financial records, social media evidence, legal documents, the works. Then I sent copies to the IRS tax fraud, the FBI wire fraud for GoFundMe, the state attorney general. Fraudulent fundraising, the credit bureau's identity fraud attempts, GoFundMe's fraud department, Instagram and TikTok harassment, and fraudulent content. Then I waited. While investigations started, Victoria kept digging deeper. She started a new fundraising campaign on a different platform claiming she needed money for an appeal. She was also selling personalized videos on Cameo complaining about her situation for $25 each. My parents were still harassing me but also fighting constantly. The stress was destroying their marriage and finances. The lawsuit had cost over $30,000 plus ongoing costs of Victoria's lifestyle. My aunt was still running her mouth on social media, but fewer people were listening. Then dominoes started falling. Victoria's new fundraising campaign got shut down within a week. The platform had been alerted to her previous fraud and banned her permanently. Her social media accounts started getting suspended. Instagram took down her account for harassment and fraudulent content. TikTok followed. Snapchat suspended her for community violations. Victoria was melting down about censorship and being silenced for telling truth but had no platform left to complain on. Next, my parents got a letter from the IRS audit notice, full financial review going back 3 years, including questions about the $90,000 in unreported payments to Victoria and circumstances around their home equity loan. Victoria got her own letter days later. The IRS wanted to discuss her income reporting discrepancies and business ownership claims, but the best part was yet to come. The FBI Financial Crimes Unit opened an investigation into Victoria's GoFundMe fraud. Wire fraud is a federal crime, and she'd crossed state lines since people from multiple states had donated. When FBI agents showed up at my parents' house to interview Victoria, she completely panicked. She called me for the first time since the lawsuit, crying and begging me to make this stop. I don't know what you're talking about. I told her, maybe you should get a lawyer. The investigation took 3 months. During that time, my family's harassment stopped completely. They were too busy dealing with lawyers and accountants to bother me. Victoria had to move back with my parents because she couldn't afford rent without social media income. My parents had to sell their boat and downsize retirement plans to pay legal fees. My aunt stopped her social media campaign after her employer received a complaint about her online harassment. Small-town gossip spreads fast and her reputation was shot. Meanwhile, I was living my best life. Got promoted at work, was dating an amazing woman, hosting regular game nights at my house, the house I bought with my own money. But I wasn't done yet. The best part was still coming. 6 months after the court case, my phone rang at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. Dad's voice, and he sounded completely broken. Son, we need to talk. Can you come over, please? Part of me wanted to hang up, but curiosity won. What could possibly make these people reach out after everything I drove to their house and found a scene that was beautiful in its karmic justice? Their new car, Mom's 2018 Camry, was gone, sold to pay legal fees. Victoria's BMW was in the driveway with a boot on it from unpaid parking tickets. Inside, the house looked smaller, shabbier. They'd sold furniture to cover expenses. The big screen TV was gone. Even some of Mom's jewelry had disappeared. My parents looked like they'd aged 10 years in 6 months. Victoria sat at the kitchen table with papers everywhere, looking completely defeated. "What's this about?" I asked. Dad cleared his throat. "The FBI. They're recommending charges against Victoria. Wire fraud, tax evasion, identity theft. She's looking at 3 to 5 years in federal prison." Victoria started crying. "I'm so sorry. I'm so incredibly sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. I was just angry and jealous and made stupid decisions." Mom jumped in. "We've been to 3 lawyers and they all say the same thing. The evidence against her is overwhelming. The only thing that might help is if the victims, if you were willing to speak on her behalf." I almost laughed. "Let me get this straight. You sue me for my house, harass me for months, and now you want me to help Victoria avoid prison." Dad nodded miserably. "We know we messed up. We know we were wrong about everything. We're begging you. She's still your sister." Victoria looked up with swollen eyes. "I'll do anything. I'll get a job. I'll pay you back. I'll make a public apology. Anything. Just please don't let me go to prison." But I needed to hear the whole story. "What else?" I asked. "The IRS audit. We owe $67,000 in back taxes and penalties. The payments to Victoria, the home equity loans, some other issues they found. We have to liquidate almost everything. We're losing the house," Dad added quietly. 37 years we've lived here and we have to sell it to pay what we owe. We'll be lucky to break even after all debts." Victoria sobbed harder. "It's all my fault. I destroyed our family because I was jealous of your success. I thought I deserved what you earned and I turned our parents against you. I looked around the room at these 3 people who had made my life miserable for months. They were broken, financially ruined, and facing serious legal consequences for their greed and entitlement. It was exactly what they deserved." "You want to know what I think?" I said. "I think this is the first time in Victoria's life she's facing real consequences for her actions. I think you two spent 30+ years enabling her entitled behavior, and now you're all learning what happens when that attitude meets reality." Dad started to speak, but I held up my hand. "I'm not done. You sued me for a house I bought with my own money. You harassed me at work. You trespassed on my property. You tried to destroy my reputation on social media, and now you want me to help you." Victoria was hyperventilating. "Please, I'm begging you. I'll never bother you again. I swear I'll disappear from your life completely." Mom added, "We'll sign something legally binding. We'll never contact you again, never ask for anything. If you just help us this one time," I pretended to consider it while they sat in desperate silence. "Here's what's going to happen. I finally said Victoria is going to face the consequences of her crimes. You two are going to face the consequences of enabling her, and I'm going to go home to my house and get on with my life." Victoria screamed, "You can't just let me go to prison. I'm your sister. You're a stranger who happens to share some DNA with me," I replied. "You made your choices. Live with them." Mom tried once more. "What if we paid you back? What if we gave you money?" I laughed. "With what money? You're broke. Remember? Besides, I don't want your money. I have my own." I walked toward the door, then stopped. "You know what the ironic thing is? If you had just been proud of me for buying a house, if you had celebrated my success instead of trying to steal it, we'd still be a family. But you chose greed over love. You chose entitlement over relationships. You chose Victoria's delusions over reality." Dad was crying now too. "We know. We're so sorry. We know we can't undo what we did, but please." "The time for apologies was before you sued me," I said. "Now it's too late." I left them there in their shrinking house facing the consequences of their choices. Victoria got sentenced to 18 months in federal prison and 3 years probation. She'll also pay full restitution to everyone who donated to her fraudulent fundraisers. My parents lost their house and moved into a small apartment. Dad's health insurance covered most of his stress-induced heart attack, but not all. My aunt got fired from her job after her employer decided her online harassment campaign reflected poorly on the company. The extended family mostly sided with me once all facts came out. My grandmother said she was proud of me for standing up to bullies, even family ones. I'm still living in my house, the house I bought with my own money. I got engaged to Sarah, the woman I'd been dating, and we're planning our wedding for next spring.